Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before I do begin, let me give a brief little review. In the last part, we had a lot of things going on. Now, Deku and Bakugo, they were in a fight together, and this brawl showed off exactly the difference between Deku and Bakugo. As far as the audience was concerned, both of these two were heroes. The only thing that separated them was about 97 levels. And that didn't seem like that big of a difference. But it wasn't until after they saw Deku rip Zondor in half after his fight with Indra, people began to suspect something was off with this one. And during their battle, Deku showed off his full might. He was treating Bakugo's power like it was nothing, battering his attacks away, and even trying to get him to confront him in a straight-up brawl. He thought he was mocking him when he said he wouldn't use magic power and only rely to 50% of his physical power. But whenever he used draconic power, Bakugo pushed Deku to go all out, physically. And even then, it still wasn't enough. Deku realized something was going on with Bakugo's draconic skill whenever he felt magic power leaking out of him but saw his physical stats shoot up high. Now, he couldn't maintain it for very long. He was basically flowing river whenever it came to mana. You could spot him from a mile away. And after Izuku threw a full force strike at Bakugo to end their fight, people in York over 120 miles away, they not only felt the ground shake like an earthquake, but the king had to make a decree to his subjects about them not being under attack, even though buildings were being damaged by the force of the ground shaking. Now, there was then Theodore and Diso's match. This one was more interesting. It went on a lot longer than theirs, and Izuku, he got to see his former mentor in action, employing moves he hasn't seen before and techniques he hasn't seen or witnessed. It was something else. And their matchup ended with Theodore's victory, though he did learn a few interesting things. Now then, after their matchups, they were allowed to leave the arena for the day, thanks to the king giving them permission. Now, with that being said, whenever Deku and Indra went back to the inn, Indra found out about her own new ability thanks to slaying a dragon. She gained access to plasma magic, the advanced form of light magic. She was happy about this, but also annoyed that she just found out about it. She does have mastery over fire magic. Now she has mastery over light. She has yet to fully master wind magic, but now she does have a third element to pull from. And other than this being a little funny to Izuku, he had a few other things to do. Right now, when they went downstairs to go eat, the other heroes came to find him. And they left after Izuku talked about giving them adamantine for either weapons or armor, though he strongly advised them to use it for weapons. And the fact that Ochako saw Erodos drooling over this ore definitely means it's something the swordsman wants as gear. So, that must mean another thing. Her dream weapon must be made from that material. Now, we do cut to a few hours later. The table is set. Food was brought out, and ale has been scattered around. And Izuku, he does go to kill his fourth mug, before he's to slam it down and turn, holding up a gold coin and waving it over to the bartender. And the man, where he does get to see that shiny coin in the air, he has that turn, going to shout something to somebody as they do come running out. Him flipping the coin to them and talking about it. A few more rounds for the table. Him turning back. Right, so as he was saying, That's what happened in Bitopia, and how he found the dragon, and eventually he gained a lot of magical essence. Everyone still staring at him, and he does look around before talking about it. Well, don't all bombard him with questions at once. So, let me get this straight, Izuku. You were gone for 2 years, and for most of that time, you were in the Underdark? The Drow are real? Him turned to Diso, talking about it. They are, and they do worship dark gods, one of which he met, like he said earlier. You said that. You also met Aurora. Him turning to Indra, and she does this all lean forwards, happy to give that detail, talking about it. Her radiance. It was just something to behold. The fact of the matter was, she appeared to tell the dragons not to retaliate. It wasn't just that, but she pointed them towards the direction they needed to. Yeah, that's true. And the primordial mimic? You don't seriously expect to actually release those eggs, right? I made a deal. Actually, that could be beneficial. Him turning to Diso, who does talk about how mimics aren't inherently evil. The fact of the matter is, a lot of them could be good. But that's if they're tamed mimics. I mean, he's even heard tale that people do use them for weapons, armor, other stuff like that. Even boots, and they can be really good gear. Yeah, I'm not wearing a living creature. I've already had to deal with a lot of weird things down there. Uh-huh. So, wait a second. If the fortress is full of weapons, then why don't we just get some from there? I have a few of them. Actually, she's right, Izuku. Is she? Well, think about it. We saw a ton of stuff when we were there, and if Zardith hasn't already begun to fix things up, then they might be able to pick out their own weapons. I mean, plus, do you really think it would be a bad idea just to go back? No, it probably wouldn't be. Side D-Wrath might be able to see their kin again, and besides, a few new friends Zardith can meet. Her gesturing her head over to the other two, and he does it a nod. Already aware, she understands his train of thought, though the weapons idea he didn't think of. Giving them the ore was supposed to be a way to gain back more reputation with these two. He kind of did break off, but they do understand. Bakugo is not happy that he's not resting. And Ochako, she seems to be more interested in the idea of becoming a planeswalker. That he does like and does want to try and latch onto. If they can all undergo the same process he did, there's no telling how much more powerful they can all become. Not just that. In the days to come, they might be able to take on the Demon Lord, advance past the front lines, and see what's going on there. That's a lot to think about, though, Izuku. Shit. Yeah, I know. And let me get this straight. After you woke up, you landed in the village. Yeah. That's not even the craziest thing about that. I met my mother's doppelganger. You what? Him leading forwards. Ochako does get a turn. Quite intrigued about that part. Apparently in Kila, there's a version of my mother here. I also ran into the version of me here. I don't know. It's weird to meet your younger self. I don't know if when you guys awaken, you'll go through the same process, but I think it tried to take me home. And that brings up my next point. I can look through other worlds. If I can turn my head, I can look through every plane of reality that I can see. The ones closest to us, the upper planes, Shadowfell, and the lower planes. I haven't tried looking to the abyss again, and I don't want to look there anymore. I've seen plenty of that place after what happened. I tried to go home, and the goddess of war stopped me. She did? You met her? Yeah. Yeah, I did. I found a plane of reality that looked like home. It was under siege by demons, under siege by demonic forces, stuff like that. When I tried to step into that reality, she told me it was a trap. The demon lord might have some relics to step into other planes. Like a spell? I have heard of one called Plane Your Shift, but I'm wary to learn it. Maybe, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that he's attacking other worlds, not just the ones that are here with the material plane, close by. Our worlds are being hidden. What do you mean? Even if we do become planeswalkers, we can't go home? No. We'd put those worlds in danger. After we kill the Demon Lord, I think they'll be safe, but that's still up in the air. But that's where I want to kind of get your guys' opinion on something. All of them going to stare at Deku. When they do this, are they willing to fight by his side? Are they willing to let him lead? And Ochako does turn to Bakugo, and he does look down. Izuku's rash. He's still unstable. He saw him in the arena. But he's loyal. That is what his story has told him much of. I don't know. If it does come down to combat, I think it's best we keep with our parties. It's just me and Indra, you, Elsa, and Diso, and then Ochako's party. Him gesturing to her and her friends. As is to talk about it. Right. They can have that conversation a bit more later. I'm going to stand, telling both of them to come with him, since he can take them to Bitopia and they can see it for themselves. It shouldn't be dark yet, though. It's still a little early. And they do both go to stand. Him walking over and grabbing Ochako by her shoulder, before he has to reach out and grab Bakugo by his arm. And they all go to disappear. Right now, them going to vanish as their presence is no longer felt. And Diso does get someone stare at that, since if he blinked, he would have missed them vanishing. That is one hell of an ability. And he does a turn. As right now we do cut over to Bitopia. They do go to find themselves in the fortress. Reappearing as Deku, he does go look around. And people, they have been a little busy, getting a lot of things sorted and figured out. And right now, he does get a turn. Before he does go to bring a hand up, and Wrath does go to begin flying up in the air, it chirping out and roaring out for its siblings. And other dragons do begin to fly over. Someone going to count the ones in the air, and they're going to run over, before they smash their arm directly on to a dragon scale plate armor, shouting, "Lord Izuku!" And Izuku does turn his head towards that. And people do go to run over. Right now, some of them with feathers and wings. Some with lighter shades of skin. Some with blue skin. And they do to watch as these people do go to fall either to a knee or hold their hands over their hearts. And he does express That's fine. They're just here to visit. Is Zardith here? He needed to get a few things. Him looking up. And Ochako and Bakugo, their gaze hasn't yet to leave the sky. It's completely impossible. Of all the things they've seen here, that is incredible. How does that? I'm so confused. That doesn't seem. How is it? Yeah, it's breathtaking, huh? That isn't. That just defies all. I mean, don't let it fool you. It's not a mirror image. That is another plane of reality. I'm sorry, what? Ochako looking down, talking about it. But how aren't they falling? I mean, going up? Gravity shifts halfway up. And it kinda is the same way. For a few miles up, the sky is the sky. Before, whenever gravity shifts, you start to fall. It's trippy, trust me. And right now, a man does come walking out. Him with one of the dragons on his shoulder. Him scratching behind the head of the one that has returned. And Zardith does get a walk up. For the two do to turn their heads and seeing the draconic features on display. And he does express, it is nice of him to come and visit, but he has come by very close to his last visit. He is quite curious. Did he need something? I did. I wish this was a social call, but these are Ochako and Bakugo. I mentioned to you before about me being from another world, before being on the material plane. It's the same thing for these two. Him turning. Ah, I see. And you believe them to possess the same capabilities as you? Yeah, but that's not exactly why we're here. Perhaps we'll come by again soon for that, but for now, I was hoping on good faith to take some weapons. I already told you about the ones I have procured. Yes. They will not see much use for some time. We do have some material in reserve, but if you can find something that they may like, then they may have it. And for armor, I do not know if we can spare much. Him turning, talking about how the scales of an adamantine dragon, they do shed, but forming it and fitting it is a different story. It would all mainly be custom, and he doubts they'd get that lucky. Him nodding, turning to the two and expressing, walking over and into one of the large halls that do line the fortress. And Zardith does it a follow, waving for the two as they do step into a massive room full of weapons. And Bakugo, his eyes are to fall on a claymore he does get to see. But he also is going to turn his eyes on a large two-handed battle axe. I mean, holy shit, that thing is big. But walking over, grabbing it, and being surprised by its weight. I mean, holy hell. Now this certainly is something. Him going to turn, talking about how, so they've got all these weapons, right? But they don't. His eyes snapping to something. Bakugo going to try and quickly place the battle axe on the wall and go to rush over, talking about how he calls it. Ochako turning. Deku watching is going to run over to a chain that does hang on the wall. Before he does, going to pull it off and hold it up. Holy crap. Him talking about it. They actually have one of these? I mean, he didn't want to hold out hope, but yes, that belonged to someone quite powerful. I mean, it can take on magic, right? It's enchanted. Please be enchanted. It is, yes. Though I do believe you need to be highly skilled with a weapon like that. Him talking about it. He does. No, he's practiced with something like this before, but this would be his first real, well, display with one of these. And Deku does see him hold up a Morning Star whip, and that it does look like a decent weapon. Right now, Deku going to stare on as Ochako does pull up a pair of daggers. Her trying to spin them in her hand and test the weight before she's a turn. Going to grab two short swords on top of that. And Bakugo, he does walk back over to the claymore. Before he does bow his head and express a gratitude of thanks. Before he has a walk over and grab Zardith by the arm, expressing, "This is incredible." They should return though. They have some duties of their own. I see. Nezuko has provided a great service to this land. It has returned back to peace. If you are anything like him, I hope that your journey is good, and it does not fret with peril. Him going to bow his head forwards, talking about it. If they do meet again on terms that are good, then he does hope he can help with their journey. Him understanding. And Ochako, she just won't grab the man by his arm. Her happy about her own selection. And she does won't turn, asking Nezuko if she can take a weapon for Erodas. You sure? I'm sure. If that's alright. It is alright. Yeah, I think she'll like it, but if she doesn't, maybe we can work out a bit of a deal? Oh, yeah, we can. Though, if we're going to make a bit of a deal, how about we do that after the tournament? Maybe. Or you can just talk to her. She talks highly of you. Yeah, that would be true. Did she follow you after Stonefen? She tried to, but I let her know it wasn't a good idea. Oh. Too many people in your party? Not just that, but Pyro was a little concerned. I beat her in our last sparring match. Back then? Yeah. Oh. Yikes. That's gonna be hard to explain to Indra. That's another story I'll tell you about when we get back. Them popping back into the bar, and people do go to stare at them. Before Izuku does turn his head and see Theodore sitting there. Right now, him going to set down his mug and go to talk to some of the other mentors and people who were in the tournament. It looks like he's returned. Him going to tell Izuku, why don't he come over here and have a bit of a drink with all of them? Come on now. They're going to be fighting tomorrow. Besides, he'd love to tell them some stories about the way he trained this damn kid. Are you seriously telling me that 3 years is what it took for him to get to that? Yep. Though I don't think he can beat me yet. In your dreams. Besides, sadly, Theodore, I do want to say I'm a lot stronger than you are. Really? How so? Well, I have killed 4 dragons. Though the last one was more of prey than a challenge. Him saying that fact. And people do get to stare Deku down. Before Diso does get a stand. Talking about how Izuku only mentioned he slayed 3 dragons. Him turning. talking about how he slayed the last one after his wedding day. And the way he does say that does make everybody freeze. And he does walk back over to his table, sitting down and talking about it. Yeah, that was definitely a bit of a crazy thing. And that was, about a week ago? It was about around that time, yeah. He just knows it was a couple days. And everyone around the table, they do get to stare at Deku. You you guys are married? No, we're not. Indra gonna bring her hand onto Deku's shoulder, talking about it. Remember how he talked about a deal with a Fey princess? No. Yep. You married the princess of a Fey kingdom? Yeah. I also have an archfey who owes me a favor, because she was curious to know what it's like to look through my eyes and see other worlds. And let's just say I left her speechless. Her or the princess? Everyone gonna start laughing. And he does it as a bit of a jab from Indra, who does a try and jab him in the shoulders to try and calm down. He just doesn't want to talk about it. Anyways, other than all of that, that's kind of what he's been up to. So, how have things been up here, though? I mean, he knows Ochako has a forbidden magic, but what about him? I don't. I've just been training with Diso's dad. Have you? Yeah. I mean, I spent some time in the plains of wild magic, and that was definitely a bit of a crazy ride, but let me tell you something. I saw a lot in there. I mean, wild magic is not fun. Trying to adapt your magic to it is not easy. It's like the Underdark. Huh. And Ochako? I've been a little busy myself. After you apparently died, I was trying to do some studies. That eventually led me to trying to recreate your magic, but it didn't work. And after I saw you nearly get ripped in half by it, I decided not to. So I experimented and I kind of discovered my own. Right. Chaos magic, though. Yeah, it's more like wild magic, but with a twist. I mean, wild destruction? Or. Well, I did also put creation elements in there, and I kind of messed with it until it worked. Then it burned into her holding up her left arm. Still a little alarmed seeing it. And that expression does quickly fade. Her talking about it, bring up her right hand and going to somewhat have the magic runes begin to flow off of her skin, as if she is pulling open a scroll. And he does somewhat stare at that, talking about it. Yeah, that does look a little crazy. Her letting go of it. And when it does get to somewhat wind back around her arm, she does get to talk about it. Yeah, it is, though she has found a decent spell to use. Especially one against him. Oh? Yeah. Though, if I'm going up against your destructive art, then I don't know if I'll be able to win. Maybe not. Don't feel so bad, though. I mean, I did almost kill Bakugo with that punch yesterday. Not yesterday, sorry. It's just sometimes my brain works too fast. I'm still getting used to that. Right. Anyways, it's starting to get a little late. We got to be at the tournament in the morning, and I don't really know if we can drink too much after this. Him turning. gonna stand as someone they do should ask him exactly if he has plans. Him turning, looking at Erodos, who does get to talk about it. She would like to properly spar against him, no holding back. And he does this won't turn to Ochako. Did you give her a gift yet or no? Gift? Her going to reach into her inventory and pull out the sword. And when Erodos' eyes do to fixate on the weapon, she just to grab it, turning back to Deku, who is already gone. And she does this one glare back at Ochako. And she does this one hold up her arms, talking about how she didn't know he'd do that. And Bakugo does this one laugh, talking about how they probably should be expecting that a lot more now. He was trying to learn teleportation, wasn't he? Right. Anyways, them going to finish the rest of their drinks, the rest of their food. And Ochako, she has been trying to make a strategy for what to do against him. He's the strongest person at the tournament she's probably going to have to fight. They don't know about the champion yet, but they haven't made an appearance. And if they do, she might either have to fight somebody just as strong as Deku, or potentially even stronger. Overcome one hurdle just to have to overcome a bigger hurdle. She's debating forfeiting the match. But if that's the case, then it does mean something bad. Her reputation might go down. Though, after Deku's reputation during the tournament, people might understand that may be a smart play. Though, she is still a little curious to see him in action. See what she can do against him. And right now, we do have the next morning. People, they have returned back to the arena to see what will happen for these two remaining fights. It is interesting. And right now the four do to stand in front of King Drutha. And the man does bring a hand up his people due to full silence, since they want to witness these battles. Now, today is quite an interesting day. However, being the final day before the champion does have to battle, this fight will not go how people expect. They would originally have a free-for-all battle in the forest. However, without their fifth member, they cannot have that battle. They will have to settle for a 1 versus 1, and then a final matchup between the two competitors who will fight the champion. Him going to raise a hand and express. Now, the first fight will be Theodore stepping forwards, expressing to the king. He would like to make a request. Him and his student will fight. His former student. He trained Izuku of Granala, and he would like the honor of fighting him, falling to a knee in front of the king. And the man does his own turn, looking down at Theodore, who does express. That is quite alright. He was going to try and see what he can do. Perhaps test the other hero, Ochako, of Kila, against him. But this request will be fulfilled and met. He does want to see which one of them will win. Now, Deku, he does get a somewhat smile, and the king does express, waving a hand, the two disappearing as Kavila and Ochako do stand there. Her going to somewhat sigh for turning to the woman, who does express. She was quite curious about fighting that one. He's strong. He is, though you might not want to do that. Why? Because I don't think either of us could beat him. Her bringing her arms up, talking about it. Come on now, that can't be the case. Everyone can be defeated. If it bleeds, it can die. And her savage grin is only met when she has to lick her fangs talking about it. This should be fun. Ochako going to let out a small bark of laughter, her agreeing with Kavila, talking about it. Maybe so, but at the very least, she doesn't know if she'll win. Though Theodore might have probably been a better opponent for her to go up against. How so? Well, I didn't train the other guy. Kavila's staring on at Ochako, and that thought, it does sort of finally dawn on her. Since she was only half paying attention to what was happening. Now, we do currently cut over to Deku and Theodore. The two do to reappear in the forest. And when Izuku does get to find where he's standing, he does get a turn, seeing the massive crevasse that he punched into the land. And it does get to go on for miles. Right now, him going to turn his head back and staring on at Theodore, who does go to stare on at Deku and then going to bring up his hands, expressing, perfect. So, right now his body being covered in gravity magic, armor being made from it, as Deku doesn't see that. How exactly will they do this? Weapons? Or will they go for battles of might? Strength, perhaps? Begin! And the two do still glare down at each other. And Izuku does talk about it. He's pretty sure he is owed a punch, since the last time he broke his nose. Deku cracking his knuckles and talking about it. Though, he's not going to use that ability. Really now? Think you can win without it? Oh, I've mastered that ability, Theodore. Let's put it this way. If I didn't want you to harm me, you couldn't harm me. It might be powerful, but I'm still figuring it out. And that? Let's just say you haven't seen the tip of the iceberg. Him flaring up with his magical aura. And right now the two, they do both stand there. Deku, covered in his armor, though his blue aura does begin to deepen into a purple glow. And this does gonna mean something. Right now Theodore going to stare at Deku before he does go to be covered in another aura as well. The strange glow of gravity around him, it does begin to bend light. And right now his armor does get a deepen in color, from a strange gray shade to a darker black. And right now the two, they do go to rush at each other, and their fists do to collide. Deku going to watch as the punch does get to create sound waves that do to echo after the momentary silence from the fist collision. Now, the two, they do try to see which one of them is stronger. And Deku, he does go to begin pushing Theodore back as Theodore, he does begin to increase the amount of force he's exerting on Deku. After Theodore does begin to overpower Deku, he does go to activate Draconic Empowerment. Him using level 1. After he does that push back Theodore, he does go to stare at him. Watching this right now, he does get somewhat laugh out. Theodore going to push back as Deku does turn on level 2. And Theodore, he does going to push back again. Right now, him only being able to even the odds. And Izuku, he does go to headbutt Theodore, activating level 3 with a strike. And whenever he does go to stumble backwards, Deku does keep up the offensive. Him rushing in and going to collide with his stomach. Right on the force, going to break Deku's hand as Theodore sent flying. Him going to look down at that before he's going to heal it from the damage. Him going to run forward and go to try and clear the distance he now is missing. However, he doesn't appear behind Theodore. He does a spin, kicking out and hitting Deku directly in the face as Deku. He does go to take a gravity sphere directly to the leg, breaking it. And whenever Theodore does a bring a hand up, grabbing him by the leg, Izuku does a throw up his other foot and go to kick Theodore across the face hard with level 4 of Draconic Empowerment. Right now, him going to twist as his leg does end up backwards. However, Theodore does end up smashing Doki across the battlefield. And Izuku, whenever he does a spin, he doesn't land Doki down on his foot. The crowd watching in horror as Izuku does go to look down. Right now, his leg going to spin back in place before he does go to put weight down on it. And he does a bend his knee before he does a look back up. Theodore rushing towards him as he does go to bring up his hand. Right now, him going to begin to fire off a jet of water. And Theodore, he does bring a hand up. Going to freeze it in place as Izuku, he does go to step forwards and go to blast out the shards. Them going to fly towards Theodore, who does go to stop them. Though Izuku does a bring a hand up and go to begin pulling around Sir Theodore. Right now, him being frozen in place as Deku does go to bring with a hand and blast out with his abilities. And this, it does mean something. Right now, a lightning flame being struck out towards Theodore, who does go to disappear as Izuku does see that the illusion did get frozen. And this, it doesn't annoy him. Most of the construct going to fall away, as he does go to look up whenever something does catch his attention. Him bring up a hand and going to send out a ball of destruction to counter the gravity spear. And whenever the two do collide, the sphere does explode. Deku's arm twisting as blood vessels doing a pop and break. Deku feeling muscles rip in his arm as he does begin to try and heal the damage. However, his arm does a shoot back around and back into place, he does go see Theodore, who currently does come flying down with magic missiles blasting towards him. And Izuku, he does go to fly forwards, him going to bring his hand up and go to send a wave out in front of him. Right now, him going to watch it shoot out forwards as Theodore does an air brake. Him bring a hand up as one of the missiles, it does go to strike Doki out and at this wave. Right now, it being struck and going to turn to ash. And Theodore, he does go to get on the back foot. Him going to try to fly to evade the attack. And whenever it does go to strike one of his wings, he does going to feel it destroy some of his armor. And this, it does go to register. Right now, the explosion covering one of his legs as Deku does watch Theodore break an ankle. And he does also a row of pain as Deku does stare at that. Him going to bring his hand up and tell his mentor that if he's going to fight him, then come on. Going to smash his fist together. Let's cut out this magic shit and get it over with. The crowd, they've already heard about this. And if they're going to have some fun, they'll have some damn fun. Theodore looking at the wild expression in Deku's gaze. Though someone they do to watch on. Still quite curious to see how this will turn out. After yesterday's bout, they were quite interested in everything. Though now, they are curious to see how it will go down. How the hero of Granola will face the odds of the Prince of the Sky. And Theodore, he does come crashing down. Right now, him going to glare at Deku. And the two, they do to collide the next second later. People watching on and quite alarmed. As there is where Deku, he does a throw up a foot. Theodore try to grab the foot as Deku, he does his own turn. Him going to kick upwards into Theodore's arm as Theodore does a throw an arm down. Him going to block the strike that does come out with a second hand. But now Deku going to bring the left arm. Theodore going to try and counter that before Deku, he does go to spin his arm and he does go to have his spirit ability begin to manifest around him. Now, Theodore does not watch that, however changes to bind Theodore in place. His feet not being able to take themselves away from his step. And he does just want to glare on at his mentor, smashing out a fist as Theodore does just stare on. And Deku does talk about it. Right now, him throwing up his other hand. And whenever he does go to throw out his left fist, he does collide it with Theodore's left fist. For he has a slide his hand forwards, and the skin on his palm does want to tear. Deku smashing his arm directly into Theodore's. And whenever changes going to wrap around their limbs, he does a smash at a right hook. Theodore not being able to buckle backwards as he currently is being rooted in place. And Deku does a pull back his right fist and smash it again. Theodore this time smash him out in the face of the two. They just buckle against each other. And the force of their blows, they do begin to echo through the forest. Someone even turning, and then they may have heard that strike echoing through. And this is where the king does stare on. As Izuku does get to tell him, he's not going anywhere now. Theodore going to send out a punch as the two do a collide fist, them only having one arm to fight this battle. And right now, Theodore, he does try to pull away. This was supposed to be a fight of martial arts, but he's turning it into a pure contest of strength. He's proud of his own student, him putting more force into his own magic. And he does go to send out a strike that does send blood flying from Deku's mouth. Him going to buckle backwards, who a step forwards. Him coming in with another right hook directly to the chest. And Theodore this time, he does a cough blood, feeling it pour into his mouth as he does a stare on, stepping forwards and trying to headbutt Izuku, but only being able to lean in with the attack. And Izuku, he has to take the blow before he does a smash himself forwards. Him doing the same thing, but going to cause Theodore to break his nose again. And whenever blood is sent flying from the attack, he is met with a strike to his face. Deku breaking his own nose as a tooth is sent flying. And right now, he does send a right hook out. Theodore seeing out his own attack. And the two, they just keep going, pelting on more and more damage, seeing which one of them will outlast the other. Which one of them will be the one to fall? Which one of them has more spirit? Who has the bigger drive to win? Who has more power? Who is stronger? Master or student? Which will it be? And the crowd, they went from roaring on cheering to even warriors staring on in silence. Some, they even thought to stand, though others, they were too enraptured by the battle to look away to pay attention. If they turn their head, they might miss where the battle has a tipping point. And right now Deku, he does send a smash across his face that does go to break something in the face. However, he also does feel Theodore's jaw buckle under the attack as he does break two of his fingers. And Theodore, he does a smash Deku across the face again, him breaking three of his fingers as he does feel the side of Deku's cheekbone somewhat give a little more. And this does mean something. Him roaring out with a headbutt. Though when both the two of them do to smash their heads into each other, Theodore, he does go to feel the spirit ability begin to unravel around him. Right now both of them going to stagger backwards and away from each other. As there is where Deku, he does seem to be falling backwards for a second. And Theodore, he does go to step in and go to bring up his left arm. Since this, it does mean something. He felt everything in his forearm give way during their fight. And Deku, he's one thick-headed idiot. Though he always was like that. Stubborn and a little shit. Though, he does still remember that naive kid who didn't like his bullshit during training. And Izuku's eyes do to flare with spiritual energy, before he has to turn his head and go to take the attack to the side of the face. It grazing him as Deku is a bring up his left arm. Him seeing a smash directly up and into Theodore's face. And this is where Theodore, he does go to stagger backwards as he does go to slide a few feet. Before he does go to look back down as Deku, he does try to keep himself on his feet. Him leaning back forwards as he does go to hold up his left arm. Him huffing out breath and trying to keep himself together. Though he does go to do one thing. he does begin to heal his right arm. And whenever he does go to open that fist and bring it up, Theodore does a stare on. Him laughing at his Deku, he does go to stare at his mentor, beginning to stumble forwards and go to bring up his hands. Theodore going to rush towards himself, bring up his left arm. And the two, they do go to collide fist. One final strike being what does it decide it all. And this strike, it does smash the two in the face. The loud bell sounding. And this, it is where Theodore, he does get a stagger backwards. Him stumbling, as right now, he does a crash down to the ground. Him going to land on his side before he does go to turn. Bring down his left arm and try to stand to his feet. There is actually Deku, who does go to stand there for a second, though he does somewhat feel like he's stumbling. He's surprised by Theodore's strength. He always held back during battle, though he could tell Theodore gave his all on this. He can tell so much more than that. And he does glare down at the man who spent so much time training him. He's thankful for it. But now, he's surpassed him. And he does go stare at Theodore, who does try to get back to his feet, but his concussion, it has begun to take effect. Everything's wobbling. It was already dizzy, though he can't even hear what Deku's trying to say. However, he does fall to the side, crashing down in unconsciousness as it does go to take him. And right now, Deku, he does go to fall to a knee, leaning forwards and beginning to heal his mentor. But a lot of people can still see the way he's been injured, the way everything has gone, and that it does mean something. As right now the two are teleported back to the Colosseum, where whenever Deku does stand there and begin to heal himself, people do a roar out for him and his matchup against the Prince of the Sky. And the king, he does want to say a few words, though he does not want to try and favor a competitor. That's a good way to show bias. And there is actually Ochako and Kavila. Kavila's blood was boiling in her veins when she saw that. And Ochako, she herself was intrigued. He's the only one of them to surpass their mentor in combat, though he's been trained by a dragon. Then again, her looking back at Kavila. And when the match does begin, Kavila does try to rush Ochako. Ochako blinking away as she doesn't talk about it. No hard feelings, but she'll end this quickly. Is that alright with her? And she does get met when Kavila does go to bring up her hands. Right now, her gonna manifest a scythe as she does go talk about it. Hell no. After that match, she is ready to go. Now, this is gonna be easy. Come on. Her going to express. Ochako does go to hold up her fancy new daggers, telling her this is not going to be easy for her. Though, how about she does pull out an attack? How about that? 1 for 1? Just like the other fight? Does she like those odds? Now we're talking. And Ochako, she does go to take the weapons in her hands and let them go. Let them crash to the ground as Kavila does go to hold up her scythe. Her goes on spinning it around at an alarming speed. And Ochako just don't stare at that. Before she's to talk about it, bring her right hand up to her left arm. And the scroll does begin to unravel. Her going to look at the patterns and try to think about what to strike her with. Maybe, no. Okay, that one might work. Okay. A combination of this one, this one. Okay, perfect. Ready? Are you done waiting, wasting my time? Come on now, let's go. Her rushing in, and Deku does see the danger of Ochako's spellcasting. As right now, when the woman does a rush her at an alarming speed, she is stuck with the attack. It crashing into her as her body, it does go completely limp. And right now, she isn't flying backwards at an alarming force. And she does a crash from a tree before she does go to lay there for a second. And right now, Ochako does go to somewhat shake off her right hand and go to stare at her palm before she does this close her hand and go to turn. Going to heal herself with magic as she doesn't still look down, flexing her hand and seeing if the damage is still there. And this Izuku does keep an eye on. And right now Kavila does go to sit there. Before someone, they do have to appear in the arena, walking over and finding that Kavila, she can no longer function in combat. Whatever the spell was that struck her, she cannot move. And from what they can tell, it tore something important. Now, they do try to put the flames out on Kavila. However, they are a little bit more stubborn than they want to give him credit for. And after some magical intervention, they are finally out. And she is taken away. Many people still alarmed by what Ochako did. There's no more need for her to hide that art, since people now know about it. Though Izuku is still quite curious. And right now the king does go to announce. It does appear that this battle will come down to one very, very interesting factor. Hero against hero. Right now something's going to shift. And everyone, they do going to stare up at the clouds in the sky that do begin to rain. And Izuku does not feel that. Before he does get to feel magic energy. Him tensing up. And Ochako does a look up herself as a massive portal does come down overhead. And something large does begin to ooze out of it. And Deku does stare on. Before there is a massive purple creature. Him turning his head, watching as something comes flying down as he does stare at a giant dragon that is missing parts of its face. The massive creature that does go out a massive roar, sending people scattering away from the Colosseum. In this, it does go to alarm them, as Izuku does stare at it. Ribs exposed, necrotic face. It's an undead dragon. And that does go to alarm him, for another dragon does come flying down, and then another. And then a massive creature does come crashing down into the Colosseum. Him staring at it. And the king is immediately to jump to his feet, beginning to bark out orders. They need to get the civilians out of here. Right now, this is not good. They are dealing with a massive amount of potential casualties. They need the city evacuated. Someone roaring at a scream. And when the king does a turn, he doesn't want somebody to be carried off by a giant purple tendril that does grab them. Before he does watch their armor be ripped through by the massive limb. And as they're dragged away, he does hear the death throes of them as their skin and muscles are being eaten alive by the acid. And the king, he does gonna bring a hand up. Him gonna leap away from his seat. Right now, him gonna raise his fist and yelling for his war party to come to his side, for they are under attack. And right now, people, they do begin to try to come into the arena. Deku, he does get ready, however. The situation just went from bad to worse. As right now he does stare at the sky, he does is see an open massive portal, one he's seen before. He knows exactly who is behind this attack. As large creatures begin to start flying down, some in the forms of dragons, others in different shapes, and he can only imagine what's going on outside the city. Him hearing massive screams as he does go to manifest his wings, trying to take flight. Right now, him checking on his reserves of magic. He's still decently above half, though maybe start tapping into his essence. That should help sort everything else out. This on his mind, as there is where something just come crashing down, and it does start out with a roar. Him turning and going to see a dragon he's never seen before. Though he has it turn as he hear a massive bellow out for the creature to hold, since that one is interesting, and they must learn more. Him turning and seeing another massive dragon, this one continuing to speak, but he does turn back to the other dragon, since this one, it's big, about the size of a tree, massive stone-like skin, and he does get a turn, looking around, others beginning to stand there as well. And this, it does mean something. He does turn his head, seeing the massive blob go to begin retreat away from the arena. The massive skull in its form going to move away with it. And he doesn't hear a sound. The ground shaking as another massive beast presumably is dropped down into the city. And the king, he does a turn, raising his weapon and screaming out for the battle to begin. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.